I just had another prior class, so therefore I'm 5 minutes late here. Um, but that's a good thing, that I have to be disciplined myself also. They said, we have got another class, and also another class. I remember some of you had questions from the last class. I remember Ananya was one of them. I don't remember the others. So whoever had questions on the data we had on the status of women, feel free to ask now. Ananya, do you want to start?
Ma'am, I didn't have a question, but we were discussing something else now with
Whatever.
okay, like I can talk, like I can say whatever I had now. Okay. Ma'am, firstly, we were talking about that. I guess Ramesh put up that case. Now we were discussing the Bombay High Court. Today
Mm-hmm.
also they gave some judgment. I guess not
Same,
accepting.
same judge. He's the
Was the
same judge who
same.
has given.
I saw it again. So, ma'am,
Mm.
he said that why to marriage? Like, why to marry? Why do girls marry? Even
Mhm.
if they're going to face some kind of violence, ma'am. We do not get into marriage because obviously it's an institution. It's something set up by the society that you have to get married. But at some point of time, you might need a partner, right? You just want to spend your life with someone else, so that's why we marry. And even though if I fall in love with a guy and I get married and he beats me, that shouldn't be the reason कि होता है ना कि तुमने तो love marriage किया, you're supposed to take whatever happens in that marriage. So marriage का मतलब ये नहीं ना कि you are supposed to get everything जो भी उसे मिल रहा है मारना या ना मारना. A basic thing which जो मैंने पढ़ा भी in the readings which you have given us, that in Ratna Kapoor also they were claiming कि अगर divorce कर रहे हो या सती remove कर रहे हो, so the religion is in danger, the family is in danger, the setup of family is in danger. So I'm like, uh, if family is in danger, so they do never take this key. Violence is the thing which is causing the marriages in danger. It's not the girl's outlook. It's not the girl's raising her voice. So they are like, अगर एक थप्पड़ पड़ गया, तो are you going to leave the marriage? So I'm like, if the marriage institution was so important for you, then you should have thought before, na, कि you are not supposed to hit the women. Why are you asking the women after the violence that no, it's just a slap? I remember the dialogue from that movie Thappad कि थप्पड़ ही था एक, but नहीं मार सकता. That is the one thing कि नहीं मार सकता. So that ही हर जगह we are asking the women कि victim blaming हर जगह. We never ask husband कि एक क्यों ही मारा, एक भी मारा तो क्यों मारा. You are always asking the girls एक मार दिया चलता है चलो ठीक है. So I am completely against domestic violence कि एक थप्पड़ भी, it's like no, just nothing. Secondly, our generation also somehow is like, one student said कि our generation will be better कि वो समझेगी, but still there are people in our generation who are like upholding the old values, so called tradition and culture, which believes कि नहीं औरतों को ऐसे रखना चाहिए and they should थोड़ा compromise उनको ज्यादा करना चाहिए and all that. So the thing we need to understand that you have to segregate the culture from the violence. That violence is never our culture, violence is never our tradition, that you are asking us to go through that. And along with that, also one student also said that we had a prime minister of India, a lady prime minister of India, lady president. But ma'am, these are
ये तो
some
मैंने कहा था.
ma'am, yeah, these are some exceptions. If we talk about women's equality, I believe that we need to focus on these lower class and middle class and up, because these are the women who suffer a lot, a lot. I agree that upper middle class also suffer, but because I have had some education, I am standing up for myself. But there are still people, still women who have no idea that something is very wrong with them. And the majority of them, lower class, middle class women, they don't even know. They don't even know that they can raise a voice against the exploitations. So we need to focus on that instead of looking. Look at Priyanka Chopra where she has reached. Look at Indira Gandhi. They are exceptions. They are our inspiration. But we need to focus on the rooted problem. कि ये अभी it's still very much prevalent. And अगर 1 out of 3 house is going through domestic violence, I can say it's 2 out of 3, because half of the cases are not reported. everyone is going around vocalizing around false cases, false cases. They don't even know that half of the cases are not even reported. So there is no question of ki you are just, the amount of outrage comes when a one false rape case or one false case comes is so much less when thousands of actual cases comes. So there lies the problem that whenever you are talking about this particular problem, दूसरा आके कोई ना कोई दूसरी प्रॉब्लम उसमें दे देता है सो दैट ये प्रॉब्लम कम हो. जस्ट लाइक कल वाला केस हुआ कि जो प्रेसिडेंट सेट किया बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट ने, he said so many of false cases. We were talking about a particular case ki what happened with the minor girl, but the reason you give, no, so many of galat cases are happening. So for me, like, आज की जनरेशन में, इसने आज की जनरेशन बोली थी, there is so much need to educate the person that what violence is and how it affects the women. The trauma, it's not just the bad thing which is happening, it's the trauma which comes with that one slap, with the beatings, with the sexual assault, everything. And private sphere mein, I guess it's more discrimination and more problem. Even Ratna Kapoor accepted that it's so difficult. Firstly, it is very difficult to remove inequality and discrimination in the private sphere. Public sphere में आपको मिल जाएगी equality because वो अलग है, but still private sphere में Indra Nooyi का था ना वो, she was like you might be the CEO but when you enter this house you are a mother. So there, even that women has to face such kind of discrimination. So it's very important to sort the घर का atmosphere and then you can talk about discrimination. We are not just कि हमें यहाँ positions चाहिए CEO ये. It's very important to look into the घर का environment as well. That how छोटी छोटी चीजों में you can point out patriarchy. It's very important to point out that, and when I started pointing that out, I have seen guys getting very agitated, very much agitated. So now there's this one thing came recently, I loved it. Ki some men basically, they are like, okay, you are feminist, so you pretty much hate men. So there's one thing which came, no, I don't hate men. It's kind of opposite. Men hate me because I'm a feminist. So and it was like, oopsie, not all men. Hashtag also not all men, because those who believe in equality probably don't hate me. So yes, that was my whole thing. I wanted to
Yeah, I
talk
think we hate the patriarchs, not
about. We
men.
hate
If the
patriarchy,
man
yeah.
is not patriarch, we don't hate them. And we hate the patriarchs. It may be females as well. Because it is not that only men are patriarchs, women are also patriarchs. So when they, the mother-in-law, for example, the one mother-in-law or the number of mother-in-laws who harass their daughter-in-law, what are they doing? Why are they harassing the girl? Because we also, dowry is a problem among women. So the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law are fighting. How is patriarchy playing out in that dispute, where the mother-in-law is harassing really badly, a lot of domestic violence by mother-in-law to the daughter-in-law? Where is the patriarchy in this? Anyone? Is
Ma'am,
there any patriarchy in this?
ma'am,
Yes. Who is
ma'am,
this?
Medha.
Yes, Medha.
Ma'am, in case of mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, it's because, like in the system of patriarchy, the women derive their power from men. So, mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, they have the son in between, and both have to derive their power in society from that one man.
Mm-hmm.
So that's their point of conflict. Because
Mm-hmm.
whoever that man, the husband or the son supports more, will win the patriarchy game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the main fight. Because
That's one.
fathers-in-law and sons-in-law don't fight for the
Yeah.
daughter, because the daughter
Yeah.
is not the source of power.
Mm-hmm. And also look at, have you ever focused on what is it that the mother-in-law is asking?
Ma'am, I want to.
She's asking for money. She's asking for money for the son's office. She's asking for a house for the whole house. She's asking for jewelry for her daughter's wedding. She's asking for scooters. No, all the things which she's not going to be the sole user, and usually not even the user. When she asks for a car and harasses the daughter-in-law, she's not the one who's going to drive that car. So she is the forefront for the men. The men remain innocent of all the conflict which is happening, and it is very convenient for them to remain innocent of that conflict, because if the mother-in-law succeeds in getting it all, they benefit. So the beneficiaries are not stopping the violence, because at the end of the day, if anybody goes to jail, it will be mother-in-law. But who will get the scooter and the car? It will be the son or the father-in-law. So for securing the interest of the male members in the society, and Medha was very right on that because she will derive her status if the men members in her family are happy with her. So can we say that a woman which has been harassed so badly by the mother-in-law, the other two men in the family don't even know about it? They do nothing to stop it? It's only the mother-in-law is the culprit? हम तो ऑफिस में थे, हमें नहीं पता घर में क्या हुआ. Are you blind? You can't see the torture marks on the woman? You can't hear her stories? For the men to play innocence and non-participant is a very convenient way, because they will be the one who will benefit. I've not come across cases where the mother-in-law is asking jewelry and saris for herself. She's asking for jewelry and saris, even when she does ask for them, to be given to the ugly and pichli, I don't know, whatever that term is, for other members. So to have the prestige of the family, that हमारे उस घर में शादी हुई है जहां से इतनी अच्छी साड़ियां आई बाकी महिलाओं के लिए, relatives के लिए. So it's all about the family prestige. It's not about her. She's not asking for money for herself because she wants to build a house for herself. She wants an office for herself. None of the things she asks for and harasses the daughter-in-law are for her benefit. But we do not look at that. We only look at the superficial facade, which is very convenient to the men in the family. I think we need to understand how patriarchy overpowers without even people knowing that this is how and why they are behaving in this manner. Okay, there were other students also who wanted to raise questions. Ankit, you want to say something?
Ma'am, just an observation about as to how we say that marriage is an institution, and how we say in Hindi that it is a saath janmo ka saath, and how unbreakable it is. And I heard a dialogue in a movie or in a TED talk somewhere, that for this unbreakable institution, even the open hair of a woman is enough for this, for making it fragile, for breaking this institution. So it is not that that we say that it is unbreakable or so. And the point Medha was making, this has been made by Kamla Bhasin in that article that you asked us to read. And she explained how a tribal woman said that men are like sun, like the sun, and we the women are like satellites, like moons, and we derive our light from that sun. We do not have the lights of our own. So that was the corollary that she used.
Okay, so we've been all talking about this one. Ananya made the point, and referring to the earlier discussion, that why have marriages? Why get into marriage at all? And we say that marriage is an institution of a family. What does family mean to you? What is your understanding of what is family? I'm not asking for a legal definition. I'm asking you your social construct of what does family means to you? Question is open to everybody. Yes, Mariam.
Ma'am, an association of persons having blood relations, a sense of love with each other.
Both of them are required, or only one of the two will work?
Ma'am, both. Sorry, ma'am.
Both of them are required.
Yes,
so if there's no love and affection, that's not a family. They are married, but there's no love and affection. That's not family. In all arranged marriages, when the marriage actually takes place, there may be no love and affection at all. But they get married. Do they constitute family? They don't constitute family till the time love and affection develops between them. or vice versa, that when they got married, they were in love and affection, and then the love went out of the window. The marriage ceremony still remained. Anush, we can't hear you. Your voice is breaking.
Hello, can you hear me
Yes.
now?
Yes.
To me, family is a group of people who come together for supporting each other and for being there for each other in all the times, in happiness and sadness. So it doesn't matter
So
if
that
they are
means
not
for your
related by
understanding,
blood.
Anush, for your understanding of family, marriage is not required.
It can be, it cannot be also. I
Yeah.
mean,
So there can
exactly
be,
like
so there
even
can be
blood
family
relation is
without
not
marriage
required.
also.
Yes, even blood relation is not required. They can be brother sisters by being not even related by blood also.
No, blood brother sister are blood related or related by adoption.
Psychologically, they can be
When
considering
we
each
when
other
we
brother
look
and
at
sister.
when we look at the legal definition, Anush, you need to mute yourself again. So when we look at the legal definition, it says union of people connected with blood, marriage, or adoption. And in that also, when you look at the family definition for purposes of LTC, you can't take your cousins with you, na? They are related with you by blood, but that's not what is meant by blood. It is only 3 generations: your parents, your spouse, and your children. That's what family is in relation to LTC for purposes of housing, for purposes of, I think, compassionate jobs. So for different purposes, family is defined differently, but for all these, whatever legal categories, there must be shown to be a relationship by marriage, adoption, or blood. Does it anywhere talk about love and affection, being for each other? Doesn't, no? Whether you have love and affection or not, your family. But our social construct of family means people we really trust, we depend on, we assume and expect that they will come to our, they will be there for us when we need them. And this can happen to people who are not related to us by blood relationship, by blood marriage, or we have known many times. Now, most of us would have had some member in this society whom the family member था कि ये हमारी family जैसा ही है. Who is this person जो family जैसा है मगर related नहीं है हमसे किसी भी तरीके से? What is that person signify in our life? Because he or she is dependable. They are as much bothered and care for us as any family member is expected to. Not that every family member does, but the expectations are that if you are a family relationship, then these are the people you trust, love, depend on. There's a bonding between them. So any person who has that bonding can be your family. But law doesn't recognize that. And that is the context in which these gay relationships, etc., come in. That they have all the relationships which are expected of a family member, but they are not seen as family because they are not related by these 3 categories called marriage, blood, and adoption. So therefore, that if family is a natural institution connecting to the other, and remember, when a couple marries, by the law, they are required to be strangers. They should not be sapinda. They should not be within the prohibited degrees. For 5 generations, they should not be connected. So we ensure that complete true strangers come together to form this family. What binds them? This ceremony, whatever that ceremony might be. So that ceremony changes everything for the purposes of law. But does that ceremony forms the family? Ceremony doesn't. The bonds in the family does. So if you start looking substantively as to what is family, then we should have no problem as to who are the people who are coming together to form a family. But because we are much more on the ritual rather than the substance of family, therefore we say, do you have a physical connection? Do you have a legal connection through marriage or adoption? So certainly, if the family is constructed as a place where you are secure, you are loved, you are taken care of, you are ready to provide care for the others, if these are the parameters, then anybody who wants to get into marriage is expecting that. They're not expecting violence. They are not expecting otherness, that you are वो उस घर से आई है, तेरे घर में यही सिखाया है. So she gets transplanted, but never finds roots in that family atmosphere, because who keeps on saying, तेरे घर में ये होता होगा, हमारे यहाँ नहीं होता. So somewhere this whole alienation, first of all, instead of recognizing and being grateful for the sacrifice this woman does, we said, why did you get married? If you didn't want to have violence, my concept of family doesn't say violence. We are recognizing that violence happens, but this is seen as a wrong in the family. It is not the normal behavior in the family. If you are being violent in family, the people can take divorce. So that is a ground for breaking that marriage. So nobody is entering into marriage with the expectation that I will be subject to violence, either by the boy or the girl. Everybody wants to find another human being in their lives on whom they can depend, who they can love, who will love them in return, who will build a life together with them. We also say human beings are social animals. We are not the isolated people. We all connect to each other. And therefore, having a family is important for all of us. And if the law recognizes family only through marriage, do women have a choice of not getting married? Or men for that matter? Law doesn't give us that choice. The rights and obligations of people living together are not the same as those who are living in a marriage. So even if you have a good relationship and not married, you still do not inherit that person's property. But if you're married and don't have good relationship, you can still inherit that property. So there are a lot of contradictions, and we need to understand that all these arguments which are coming from the status quo, from the position of patriarchal families. Women should know the families are patriarchal, and therefore, if despite being educated, as if for education they are supposed to not marry. And actually that is the other dilemma women have. That knowing that the families are, the marital homes are very patriarchal, they may not be permitted to work. A lot of women decide not to marry because they want to pursue their careers. That's not something which men have to bother about. So certainly this whole thing, the whole conversation around private public. So in the public sphere, why have we accepted equality? Why are we not back to the feudal days where we had a Raja and we had a Praja? There were people with high caste having a higher status in the society, and people with other castes had lower status. Now, why do we not believe in that anymore? Our society was never equality. It was all based on hierarchy. But of course, that hierarchy did not harm if it was done with a dharma. The concept of dharma meant that everybody will do their duty, not rights. So we forgot the duties part. We are only on to rights now. So I will not do my duty as a Raja of looking after the interest of the Praja, but I will have my power to collect revenue. That's where the problem is. So per se, there may not be a problem with a hierarchy if the hierarchy in the sense of division of labor. But if division of labor reverts into hierarchy, making some people powerless and some people powerful, then that's a problem. So division of labor has to be distinguished from hierarchy. But what has happened is that the division of labor has resulted into hierarchy, powerlessness of women in that hierarchy, and power in the hands of the people in the public spheres. So, okay, anybody, I said you the other thing, anybody who has a leftover question from last class? Maybe they have not come today. The other thing I thought asked you to think about was that have you ever faced any discrimination in your life, personally speaking? And if you would want to share that.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Ma'am, I have done BTech in mechanical engineering. So like anybody familiar with the BTech stuff? So like mechanical engineering is the place where you'll find the lowest number of women. Girls don't opt for it. So, you know, like, so in even the colleges of mechanical engineering, patriarchy is so institutionalized. I mean, when I came to Delhi University, I mean, I had like an altogether different experience, something which I had not seen during my graduation in BTech. Like, and when we go there, like your professors will also treat you like that, and everything. So you like tend to believe those things, like you are in some way inferior to the men you are studying with,
Mm-hmm.
like even if you are getting better marks, but like talking on the level of the brain, we were made to think, like men are more suitable to the works of mechanical engineering and women are not.
Mm-hmm.
So but when I came here, so then I saw everybody and I was like, no, like I was living in a lie. And because obviously those things were inside me, like equality from my family and everything. So like, and I discussed with other friends also who went out and saw other things. So like simple things, like we'll just sit in the class and they'll be like, suppose a discussion is going on detergent powders or something, so they'll be
Mm-hmm.
like, women concentrate more, because this is your job.
Yeah.
And then everybody will start laughing, even the women,
Mm.
because be like, yeah, it's a job, no big deal. But like these small things, which we are made to believe in the society. And I feel in colleges which are not so popular, I think the same thing goes on for every course. Even if they are studying, even if they might be studying gender justice class also, the way they are treated, I think, they will not just tend to believe or think it otherworldly or something.
Mm-hmm. Anybody has been, any woman has been to a woman's park where men are not allowed? Has anyone
Ma'am,
been
does
to one?
women's college count?
No, women's college is one, but just a park which is only for women. There's one I remember in Subhash Marg or somewhere around that area. I went to one once, and I suddenly realized that I had not noticed that how constrained we are in the general parks. There I found women lying on the grass and doing whatever they wanted to do, because away from others' gauge, the men gauge, they were just so free. And I could see palpably, I could feel the difference in myself that, yeah, you can do whatever you want to. At other places, are all, it's not that other people are not watching, the girls are watching, but every girl was not really watching, watching you, what you're doing. So it was only at that exposure that I realized that how much constraint we feel in the public sphere. It was that personal experience which I realized that actually, even though I've been very liberal and my family has not made discrimination between me and my brother, but the sense of freedom I got in that place, it was amazing. It's only then reflection you realize that, okay, you feel constrained outside, which you are not feeling in that place. So that, no, men never found, I don't know about men, but I assume I found men lying on the grass in parks without worrying about who is looking at them. But I've not seen women laying on the grounds freely and not bothered about where their pattai is and where their bags are and where their clothes are. They were just there, just enjoying themselves. So I started thinking that, oh, there are so many nuances to our existence. And sometimes we notice, sometimes we don't even realize that this is happening. And many a times it's only, it's some exposure that you realize that what has been normalized for you has got so many gender dimensions to it. And I do remember at one point of time in my early years, my mother had gone to her natal family for a wedding. And they came back. And I've never seen my parents fight over anything. My father never shouted at my mother, and I think it happened more because my mother never raised a voice. So it was a very quiet relationship between them, and we were not questioning because that's how we saw our parents. Then that particular day, my father was telling my mother that in your pihar, you demand, इसको इतना पैसा दे दो, इसको ये दे दो. We were all making demands, and for me that was something very new because I'd never seen my mother make any demands ever. She was, my father used to purchase 2 saris, 2 dhotis for her for daily wear, and there will be a couple in the cupboard for her to go outside. And when those 2 get old, he will get her 2 more. She never went for purchasing for even her own dhotis or saris. And that is how normalized the life was. We've never seen her ask anything for even children. Children have to fight for themselves. So for me, now I was at a confusion as to why did this happen. That in her natal place, she made a demand on my father. I never asked them. It was my hypothesis only that maybe she got married around the age of 16, and she must be in her late 50s at that time when this incident is taking place. So my one thought, and that made me cry a lot, was that after so many years, she still feels that is her home where she can make a demand. That was my one thought. Then at some years later, my second alternative thought was that maybe she was trying to show off her husband, or show off the other people that, no, look, I can tell my husband what to do. Or I have this kind of money that I can spend on this wedding. I do not know what her motivations were. But for me, the crucial point was that she did not find that voice in this house where she has spent all her life since the time she got married. And before that, I was not aware of my father being patriarch and my mother being subservient or anything. But it was only with my awareness about the relationships that something which has been normalized can have a very patriarchal norms. Now I know lots of, on my hindsight, my sister was to get married outside the caste. And my father took that decision all by himself without consulting my mother. She did not even know when he went and did the rishta. So for us that time, we were elated that, no, look, my father is so forward looking and so modern. He rests with the time and he has accepted something. We forgot that our mother was not consulted. She had equal right to know what is happening to her children. So our awareness at that time when my sister got married was not at all gender sensitive. It was just normalized that, yes, my father will decide. He was the decision maker. My mother's voice did not count. Not only did not count, she was not even informed that there is this proposal. It was all between the sister, we children, and the father, and my mother was completely out of this picture because she was inconsequential. There's so many small things which keeps on happening in our families, and unless we start noticing the voicelessness of the quiet or the one who doesn't speak, we start asking, why is this person not speaking or not being talked to? Then we start thinking of the power relationships in the family. And ours has been a very peaceful family. So it is not an abusive husband or a beating husband or a shouting husband or quarreling husband, nothing of that sort, just because the woman was not speaking at all. She never made a demand. When you start reflecting, we do realize that discrimination in the family sphere is so inbuilt. And the facts, when we were looking at the data yesterday, was reflecting that quite a many women, married women, have got no decision-making power. Fortunately, the number is decreasing, but it is nowhere near equal as yet. And this was not talking to the generation which is kind of my generation. I'm 64 plus. This is the generation of 14 to 59 years, 15 to 59 years. So certainly this is the generation which is improving, but for me, the saddest part is the next generation ratio. Okay, anybody else?
Ma'am, I would like to discuss something other very personal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ma'am, I am I'm like, we are two siblings. I have an elder sister, so I was the younger daughter born. And overall in the family, I was the fourth consecutive girl born. Okay, my Tauji had two daughters, and I was the fourth one born. So what had happened was, after like news of my birth spread around in the neighborhood, so there were actually women who came to my home, to mourn my birth with my
I know.
grandmother. Luckily for me, my grandmother was a very strong woman, and she supported my birth, and there was no she did not discriminate uh, between girls or boys. But like all through the childhood, I was like I was aware of this fact, because everybody will come and tell me, like, your grandmother is so good. When this has happened, this happens. And I feel that even now, like, if you hear the news of somebody's child being born, and and you say, like, the second they have a second daughter born. So like, there's just something which clicks in your brain, like, second daughter. It's not like you are sad, it's nothing, it's just that there's something which happens, when you
It's
say that the
right.
second
It's not
daughter is
right.
born.
Yeah, it's not right. that feeling that it is not right that they got a second daughter. But if it's a second son, that's all right. And that's true for all of us. And it's not only true for all of us, it's true for law. We have come across, when we look at laws, there are a lot of subordinate laws, subordinate legislations, which discriminate if you are a daughter and if you're a married daughter. If you're a married son, no problem. If you're a married daughter, you have got no rights, no claim. And it was very recently that the Supreme Court has said that, but it was a few years ago that a student approached me with this problem, who said that there is this woman, she's a single child, and she's married. She has been living with her parents, with the son-in-law also. So the family was actually economically supporting them also, the father. And the father died. She applied for compassionate job. And the government said, no, you are a married daughter. If it was a married son or an unmarried daughter or an unmarried son, we would have given the job to you. But we can't give it to you. The law says it can be given only to unmarried daughter and the son, irrespective of married or unmarried. So if the law itself says that no, she cannot have the same rights as the son, then certainly by law we are creating that hierarchy. So it's not only social practices. We find reflection of the social norms of hierarchy in the legal provisions also. Nobody else has any discrimination story?
Mostly in private sphere, like discrimination if we call it out patriarchy. In public sphere, so it's like you are looked at in a bad way or something. I'll say it. In college, I was in a girls' college. One same experience which you shared of going in a girls' park. So I was in a girls' college and in the North Campus only. So when I used to be in that girls' college, it used to be a different experience that I can do whatever I want to do, wear whatever I can. It was so relaxing, so peaceful. I can lie on the ground and everything. And the moment I used to come out of the college, it's a different world. I never wanted to leave my graduation, and when I got into law faculty, I was like, shit, it's a co-ed. I was literally, this was my key. Oh, I don't want to get. I wish there was a girls' law college in the same. This was my feeling when I never wanted to get into girls' college from the starting. I was like, no, I want to experience the college experience. But when I got into that college, I experienced a whole different world. So it was a very loving, peaceful, non-judgmental kind of world. And coming out of that place, then I had to adjust in the law faculty also, because they were both the gender. It was not like I do not like men or something, but it was a whole lot different experience which I faced when I got to my girls' college. So 3 years staying in that college, it was but it was a very different experience still going on with that thing. And also, if we talk about discrimination, I've mostly faced that in house, like private sphere, where I saw my mom basically working in the kitchen. My brother still doesn't know how to make anything, but I know how to make things. I know how to cook food. I know basically how to do household chores. All of them. But my brother was mostly focused, नहीं तुम पढ़ो, ये कर देगी, पानी लाना है, अच्छा ये ले आएगी, गेट कोई आए. So basically I did all the jobs. It was like this. But उसका profit ये हुआ, now I am more independent. I can do whatever I want to do. And now my father is also less worried about me if I'm going outside. I've gone on trips. He's less worried about me because he knows that, okay, now she knows everything. So that discrimination has somehow made me powerful. I do not appreciate the discrimination. I wish कि ठीक है शायद भैया को भी you would have told him, because he's like अच्छा ये बना दो रात में. He is very helpless. कि अच्छा if he's hungry, so he needs someone. He needs someone to be, अच्छा मम्मा ये बना दो, भैया ये बना दो. And I whatever I have to make, I just go and I make it and I do my stuff. I have to go outside, I have to buy things. I am very independent in that way, but this discrimination, you can say, has benefited me than my brother. So he's very, so this kind of discrimination, which I guess happens in not every household, but most of the households. In my grandmother's house, as also kitchen iska kaam to kitchen mein hi hai, kitchen ka nahi seekhegi to kya hai, and you are supposed to wear clothes and all that, that kind of discrimination. But I have become vocal, so that has changed as well. The thinking, the progress, the way they used to process, it has also changed. So I've also seen that change, because they were also conditioned. I also understood that my parents were also conditioned in a certain way, that उनको जो बताया गया वही उन्होंने सीख लिया, यही सही है, यही सही है. So I realized you need to tell them कि अच्छा, this is right, this is wrong, this is how the conditioning works, this is patriarchy. So I used to tell them, we used to have talks. So now that has settled down, that now they realize कि okay, और बाकी उन्होंने फिर भैया मुझ में difference देखे, so they realize कि हाँ, this was necessary, you need to
Yeah, no, what you are terming is that the brother is helpless, but in that helplessness, his need has become his right.
his
It
right.
is his right to get the food cooked as and when he wants, and that is what causes the problem. That it is not a cry for help. No, others should please make my food. You have to make my food. It's your duty. So the right which never existed becomes the right. As
Yeah,
Megha said, she had done a course which is primarily a male course. Any of the boys in my class who have done what is considered as a female course like domestic science? What was your experience like in that course, if any one of you did that? I had a research scholar who did domestic science in his school. And he was so much kind of made fun of that. What are you doing in this course? What is your business being in the domestic science, learning to sew and cook and do things like that? It happens across board. It is not happens to Medha in the male-dominated course. It happens to the men also in the women-dominated courses. Somewhere the division we have made so non-crossable, and we ridicule persons who does the other thing. We have these words called henpecked husband. The husband who used to help the woman. So today we call them metro men. At earlier point of time, we used to call them henpecked husband. So we had created this negative terminology for a husband who wants to help. Okay, help is the wrong word. Who want to participate in the the domestic work. I was thinking of an advertisement where the two men were having some coffee or something, tea, snacks, evening chat together. So then the one friend said, okay, I need to go to the kitchen to clean up the utensils, wash them. So the other friend says, oh, so you are a good husband, you help your wife. Says, why help my wife? It is my work. Help means that it is her work and I'm helping. And this is how most of us, most of the men in Corona pandemic felt. They were helping their mothers, they were helping their sisters, because housework was not their work. They don't litter the house, they don't use we used to do the same thing when we were young. My mother would say कि तुम लोग कुछ घर का काम नहीं करते हो. जैसे क्यों? हम अपने कपड़े खुद धोते हैं. कहते चादरें किसके कपड़े हैं? पर्दे किसके कपड़े हैं? So this whole thing about the clothes which are used in the household were considered her responsibility. If I washed my own clothes, I would think, yeah, I am so not putting any burden on my mother. But the fact that I am also using the same room, which has got the curtains, and I sleep on the same bed using the chadars, but that was not in my terminology, my clothes. My clothes, the one which I wear. If I don't wear them, these are not my clothes, then whose responsibility it is? It's my mother's business. So we've all been through that, unknowingly and unconsciously and without being aware. That household is a very big word and very big world. It's not only my clothes. Most of the time, ठीक है हम अपने बर्तन खुद धो देंगे. तो कुकर कौन धोएगा? वो तो माँ धोएगी. क्योंकि मेड तो आती नहीं थी pandemic में. So all the utensils which I use for cooking, they are all my mother's responsibility. Even when I cook in the kitchen, washing is her responsibility, because we are helping na, cooking to kar de. So somewhere we are not saying that this is my work. The domestic work is not seen as my work for each one of us in the family. How many of the boys helped their family members during pandemic? Did anyone help? हेल्प भी नहीं किया?
Yes, ma'am.
हेल्प किया था?
Yes, ma'am.
What
Yes,
was the
ma'am.
help you were doing? What was the help you were doing? संयम, क्या हेल्प किया? संयम,
मैम जो भी मैं कर सकता था, ऑलमोस्ट लाइक
बीजेपी किया कि नहीं किया? बर्तन झाड़ू पोछा बीजेपी?
हेलो,
हाँ जी, बीजेपी किया था कि नहीं किया था?
एम आई ऑडिबल?
यस,
क्या मैम?
बीजेपी किया था, बर्तन झाड़ू पोछा।
मैं अच्छा अच्छा, बीजेपी मैम, मेरे को थोड़ा वो समझ नहीं
समय
आया
लगा।
मैम। सब
हाँ।
तो नहीं, बट कभी कभी तो मैम हर चीज में ही थोड़ी बहुत हेल्प तो करवा ही देता था जब भी बोलते।
हाँ देखो, अगेन ना, ये जो वर्ड है ना हेल्प, इसका मतलब ये काम आपका नहीं था। तो बर्तन झाड़ू का किसका काम है? मेड का काम है। अगर मेड नहीं है तो किसका काम है? That's the key point, na? That all of us thought very noble by helping. भाई हेल्प किसकी कर रहे हो? अपना काम कर रहे हो। हम सोचते हैं पढ़ाई जो करना ना, एलएलबी पढ़ रहा हूँ तो मैं जो पढ़ाई करता हूँ तो वो तो मेरा काम है। पर जब मेरी माँ मुझे चाय पिलाती है रात को
Yes, ma'am.
एग्जाम के टाइम में, तो वो मुझे हेल्प कर रही है, वो तो ठीक है, हेल्प है। मगर झाड़ू पोछा बर्तन तो हमारा सबका काम है ना। इट्स नॉट द मदर्स जॉब।
मैम जस्ट मैम जैसे
जी, पॉइंट समझ में आई बात?
मैम अभी जैसा आप कह रहे थे, लाइक मैम मेरा जो रूम है, मैं उस हाँ जी मैम मैं वही कह रहा था, जैसा अभी आप बता रहे थे ना, वैसे ही लाइक जो मेरा रूम है उसका मैं क्या करता था, उसका सब कुछ मैं ही करता था। चाहे वो, हाँ, तो बस वही करता था। अब आप उसको है बोलो या फिर मैं मेरा काम कर रहा हूँ, वो कुछ भी बोलो, बट ये है कि मैं
नहीं, कुछ वो नहीं
जो
है ना,
मेरा
there's a
रूम था
difference.
उसका जो मेरा सामान जो भी सब जगह होता था घर पे, वो सब मैं ही
हाँ।
मैनेज करता था। अभी भी मीन्स
हाँ,
करता हूँ, बट तब थोड़ा
जो
ज्यादा।
आपके ना 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 ना, जो आपके कमरे के बेडशीट है वो कौन धोता है? आपके कमरे में बेड है?
हाँ जी मैम है।
पर्दे भी होंगे, कर्टेन्स भी होंगे।
मैम उसकी क्या बोलते हैं मैम, मेरे को वॉश करनी तो नहीं आती, बट
क्यों?
मैम
वॉश
कर्टेन्स
करने
तो
में
है,
कौन
बट
सी
उसकी
टेक्नोलॉजी?
नॉर्मल डस्टिंग तो
वॉश
कर
करने में
सकता हूँ। वॉश
टेक्नोलॉजी क्या चाहिए
वॉश
होती है?
करना तो नहीं आता।
मगर क्या अपनी शर्ट वॉश करनी आती है? बताओ,
नहीं नहीं
शर्ट
मैम,
आती है?
आप आज ने नहीं मैम, कभी मैम करा नहीं
नहीं,
कभी।
वो ठीक है, नहीं किया, माँ ने करने भी नहीं दिया होगा।
मैम
That's the
नेक्स्ट
other thing.
टारगेट यही है, नेक्स्ट टाइम बेडशीट का भी करता हूँ।
No, because the other thing is also that women in the household also many times do not permit the sons and the husbands to get into the kitchen. ये तुम्हारी जगह नहीं है, तुम जाके कमरे में बैठो। So women also exclude. It is not only that the men don't do it, women also do not allow them to do that. And when it is, that's what I'm saying, that as long as there is a division of labor, for me, I do not find a problem. But the fact that it becomes exclusively their job, even when they're ill, even when they have to go somewhere. We were at the academy and we were taking the judges, newly promoted judges, for a weekend outing. There was some trainings to be done. It was weekend. And I found that all the three women in my court, who had got promoted to the session judges, district and session judges level, they all said they all regretted. And I said, why you are not going? So one said, I have got a husband and a small son, and there's nobody else to look after them. I said, in your family, are you one adult and two children, or is it two adults and one child? And suddenly it struck her that her husband is not a child for her to look after him. It is for the husband to look after the baby in her absence. But she felt in my absence, both of them will be orphans. So she didn't want to go. Of course, she came later on. And she realized that where her folly in thinking was, that it is a household of two adults and one child, and not one adult and two children. The other one said, no, my family is not ready to look after my small child, and I cannot live without her, without somebody taking care. Then the High Court made it compulsory for every officer who had been promoted to go. Once it was an official diktat that it is compulsory for you to go, then she had no choice, and the family said, okay, no choice, we will look after the baby. This is too much. That she will be able to go only if it is mandatory. But if it is something important for her career, but not mandatory, the family is not ready to support. The third one, also because it was made mandatory, so every judge did go. The third one then took the whole family along with her on a private expense. Because during the day they had their programs, in the evening they were free. So she had a baby and had the ayah and the husband and the mother-in-law. Everybody went along. They stayed at a separate place during the day, and evening they spent time together. So then they found ways and means to cope up with this situation. One, happily. The second was also happy. Third was unhappy that, I got a small child, I cannot go without that. And there was no arrangement for the children to be taken. So you find suddenly these are session and district level judges. These are empowered women. But in the family sphere, they were completely disempowered. They didn't even know. I had a friend who kind of was saying it with a lot of pride. I am teaching my husband to make tea. He's going abroad for a week. So at least he will be able to make tea. This is the Sanyam. No, you can do your LLB, which is much more intensive professional education work. You can learn all this, but you cannot learn how to wash clothes. And then we say that housework is unskilled work. If no skills required, then everybody should be able to do it. No? If it is skilled work, then your work has to be recognized for the skill you employ. And certainly, homework is not an unskilled work. But because it does not require you to have a degree in home science in order to get married, therefore, it is not counted at all as work. So we, even in the latest case of the Insurance Corporation, Supreme Court judgment, it is not the woman's work which is of worth. It is the husband's salary. So somewhere the woman's work continues, but this is every household story. It is not that it happens in some household, it doesn't happen in others. It happens in every household, and we do not question it because this is how generation after generation life has continued. Nothing we need to question that. With that, we'll stop for today. Put your attendance.
Ma'am?
Yes, Nidhi?
Ma'am, there's a really good short film. Its name is Juice by Neeraj Ghewani. It's based on division of work at home only, and it's really good if someone wants to watch it.
Can you put it in the chat box?
Yes, ma'am, I'll do that.
It's available on YouTube? Nidhi?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay. Let's put the link there. And if it is, you have not found it, you can put it on the dashboard.
Okay, ma'am, I'll do that.
Yeah. So, okay. So, Monday, we look at patriarchy, understanding what are the indicators of patriarchy. We look at Kamala Bhasin. Okay. Enjoy your weekend. I don't know, for me, my classes end on Thursday. So for me, now I don't have a class till Monday. We'll still have, I think, classes tomorrow and day after. But enjoy.
Thank you,
Everybody mark your presence.
Thank you, madam. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So Yasheshwar, have you been helping somebody in the house?
I'm Madam silent. You know why? Candid confession. I did that. That will fall in the category of help or participation.
Yeah, no,
So
we all
uh,
think we're helping, but actually it is our work.
actually helping.
Yeah.
But we should actually participate. That should be the perpetual exercise. It's
No, we
not
should
one day or 2
understand
days.
that, no,
Yes,
it should be that actually she's helping us in doing our work, not the
exactly.
other way around. It's our
Yes,
work,
yes,
and we
exactly,
all have to do it together. So
exactly,
nobody,
exactly.
nobody should be made to do the other's work and then, be complacent that, oh, I'm helping them. We are not helping anybody. We are only
Very, very true.
thinking of ourselves, very noble because we were helping.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.